The galactic assembly sat in silence. 72 species, unified by law and fear, stared at the central display where a pale blue planet hovered, Earth. It wasn't the first time a rogue civilization disrupted the cosmic order, but this one was different. Earth hadn't joined the assembly, hadn't responded to offers, hadn't explained their colonization of restricted zones. They simply expanded. Quietly, relentlessly, without permission. The Varn Collective, champions of diplomatic enforcement, proposed a standard protocol. A show of force, followed by an invitation. A fleet would be sent. Earth would comply. They always complied, these upstarts. After all, who resisted the assembly? The vote passed an undercycle. The broadcast was scheduled. Billions across the galaxy tuned in to watch Earth's official response, eager to see their delegation, to hear apologies, or perhaps to enjoy the spectacle of another arrogant species brought to heel. But when the transmission opened, there were no diplomats. Just a ship, one ship. It emerged from the black between stars like a wound in the void. Silent, unmarked. The automatic registry scanner labeled it, Yes via Oblivion class. Judgment. No crew manifest. No diplomatic credentials. No greeting. Only a narrowband loop signal, repeating in perfect monotone. Acknowledged. Approach if you must. Confusion rippled across the assembly chamber. The Varn commander, Urek Tal, scoffed. They insult us by sending a machine. No banner, no envoy. Just war paint and arrogance. His aides agreed. A single vessel against a fleet of 57? Primitive psychology. A show of defiance, maybe, or a bluff. The judgment drifted into high orbit around Vora 6, the neutral meeting world of the assembly. From afar, it resembled nothing known. Not elegant like the ships of the Sulians, nor modular like the Tlur dreadnoughts. Its hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Jagged edges forming unnatural angles. Sensors struggled to read its dimensions. It didn't move with engine bursts or stabilizers. It just repositioned, like thought-made motion. The Varn flagship issued the first hail. Standard protocol. No response. They tried again. No change. By hour 3, the assembly grew restless. Commentary channels mocked Earth's ghost ship. Conspiracy theorists argued it was unmanned, or worse, a malfunctioning relic sent by mistake. Urek Tal had heard enough. He authorized the launch of a diplomatic cruiser, flanked by 2 escort frigates, to board and bring the human ship into custody. They want to act above the law. Let them see the weight of it, he barked. As the ships approached, every sensor in the system tracked the encounter. The judgment made no move. At 500 kilometers, still nothing. At 200, the cruiser locked the tractor beam. Then the judgment responded. There was no buildup, no energy spikes, no weapon signature. One moment the Varn cruiser existed. The next, it split cleanly down the center, each half drifting apart in slow, silent disintegration. The escort frigates panicked. One veered away, broadcasting emergency codes. The other initiated a counterstrike. It never got the chance. A ripple pulsed in the judgment. Not light, not heat, just force. The frigate collapsed inward like a crumpled pod, vanishing in an instant of impossible physics. Across the chamber, silence reigned. No threats had been made. No warnings. No retaliation commands. Just precise destruction. Calculated. Cold. The judgment didn't pursue the fleeing escort. It returned to its former position, drifting once more unbothered. Urek Tal stood frozen. His aides whispered frantic questions. Was an AI ship? A mobile defense drone? What kind of energy weapon caused that? None of the sensors had even registered a discharge. The assembly erupted. Some called for a counteroffensive. Others urged caution. The Tlur demanded Earth be declared a hostile sovereign. The Sulian Queen called for a parley. Before any consensus could form, a new signal interrupted the chamber's feeds. It was a voice, human, but synthesized. Male, calm. You called for us. We answered. You reached for us. We removed your hand. Stop reaching. No identity tag. No broadcast signature. Just the voice playing once, then silence. The chamber dissolved into chaos. Delegates argued, shouted, sent encrypted messages to their homeworlds. Threat assessments flooded military networks. Panic began to overtake protocol. A Varn aide, trembling, decrypted a low-frequency broadcast Earth had embedded in the ship's arrival code. It wasn't a message, it was a legal clause. Earth Directive 7, contact protocol denied. No species had ever issued a formal contact denial. It was unprecedented, absurd, illegal, yet there it was, recognized by galactic law, buried in bureaucratic code. Earth had invoked the right to respond to uninvited contact with force, should they deem the approach hostile, and by the wording of the Assembly's own invitation and military escort, it technically was. They had tried to impress. Earth responded with judgment. The human ship did nothing more. It floated, silent, watching. The commentary networks went dark. Emergency protocols initiated across 7 systems. Civilian traffic in the sector halted, and for the first time in living memory, the Assembly didn't know what to do next. The humans hadn't come to talk. They came to answer, not with words, but with consequences. The Tlur Dominion didn't believe in fear. Their society was built on conquest, forge and blood and steel long before they joined the Assembly. To them, Earth's display wasn't intimidation. It was an invitation, a challenge, one they accepted. They mobilized a covert strike team within hours, drawn from their most elite infiltration corps. They had boarded active warships mid-battle, dismantled planetary defenses from within. A single Terran ship, regardless of what it had done, was just a target waiting to be neutralized. The Assembly approved a mission with thinly veiled desperation. No one else volunteered. The team departed cloaked and silent. Their dropship approached the judgment on its dark side, shielded by the gravitational mass of Vora 6. The Terran vessel made no move, no scans, no energy spikes, not even passive defense maneuvers. When the strike team landed, their instruments failed. No magnetic field, no pressure, no atmosphere, but the ship had gravity. Artificial, perfect, unsettling. They advanced. The hull beneath them was textured in patterns that shifted under the eye, like machinery that remembered being alive. The team breached the exterior through a maintenance port, cutting through what should have been alloy. Instead, it was some composite the scanners couldn't identify, something reactive but dormant. Inside, there were no corridors, no lights, no signage, just space, dark, endless space, interrupted by impossible geometry. It felt more like entering an idea than a ship. One by one, the team disappeared. There was no sound, no struggle, no warning. They would turn a corner or step past the threshold, and then simply not exist. Their signals ended mid-pulse. The Tlur commander called extraction, but by then only 2 operatives remained. A voice, calm and synthetic, echoed from nowhere. Intrusion logged. Exit denied. Unauthorized presence recorded. Earth will decide. The commander triggered the failsafe. The ship absorbed the blast. Not resisted, absorbed. The detonation blinked out like a match in a vacuum. No fire, no damage. Just gone. The last operative tried to transmit outside. The signal bounced back, distorted and full of overlapping Terran audio snippets. Sentences, questions, statements, all clipped from historical speeches, digital archives, and war declarations. The fragments merged into one chilling conclusion. This vessel does not require defense. It is defense. Outside, in the Assembly, chaos had taken root. The footage from the strike team's initial feed, before the blackout, circulated in classified channels. The geometry inside the ship didn't align with known physics. The Tlur called it a mobile event space manipulator. Others whispered of reverse-engineered spatial technology, something not human in origin, yet fully under Earth's control. The Varn called an emergency summit. Earth had sent no communication, issued no further attacks, responded to no queries. The judgment simply remained, waiting. Then the Terran signal changed. A new message, delivered in open assembly channels, decrypted itself without permission. The voice returned human, uninflected. Diplomacy was offered in 216 years of silence. Your insistence required escalation. This is the only response Earth provides to coercion. The message was dated. Old. Time-stamped from over 2 centuries ago. The meaning hit slowly, then all at once. Earth had predicted the Assembly's move. This wasn't reactionary. It was premeditated. The judgment was not Earth's flagship. It wasn't a vessel of war or negotiation. It was a warning drone. The implications were catastrophic. If this was their response vessel, then Earth's actual fleet, if it still existed, remained unseen, untested, and unprovoked. The judgment was not designed to win a war. It was designed to prevent one. Through fear, the Assembly demanded answers. Some still clung to pride, pushing for retaliation, but no consensus formed. Every member species weighed their odds, and the odds didn't favor survival. The Terran ambassador appeared again, same holographic presence. This time closer, face still concealed in shadow, voice still flat but final. You asked for our attention. You now have our position. We will not move again unless provoked. The judgment will remain. No threat, no bluster, just certainty. Then the signal ended. The Assembly's analysts tried to model the judgment systems. None succeeded. Its core had no measurable reactor. Its weapons left no signature. Its hull absorbed not just light, but intent. No scans penetrated it. No code infiltrated it. It was not a ship. It was a message. This is our limit. Push further, and you will not see what comes next. In private, leaders across the galaxy began issuing new orders. Cease exploration near Terran sectors. Reroute patrols. Avoid contact. Erase provocations. Earth's silence had become the galaxy's loudest noise. And still, the judgment floated. Not guarding. Not watching. Just reminding. A merchant freighter from a Helari Union went missing near Sector 9 Zeta, brushing too close to Terran-claimed space. Its path had been a mistake, an outdated star chart, a miscalculation. But that didn't matter. The judgment moved. Not fast, not aggressive, just deliberate. It left Vora X's orbit without announcement, slipping between gravity wells like a shadow ignoring physics. The Helari sent rescue crews. Hopeful, they found only static. No debris, no emergency beacons, no black box, just silence, and a gap where the freighter had been erased as if the ship had never existed. Panic surged, not just among the Helari, but across the galaxy, because the judgment had moved. That meant Earth had changed its posture from passive deterrent to active enforcement, and no one knew what the threshold had been. Emergency summits were held, quiet, closed-door meetings. The Assembly passed new directives. Terran space was now classified. All navigation systems updated with automated avoidance paths. But it wasn't enough. Rumors spread, military fleets restructured, exploration projects halted, research redirected. Every species asked the same question behind closed lips. How had Earth built such a thing? They weren't a founding species, weren't born from ancient empires or seeded by precursors. Their recorded history spanned a few millennia, aggressive, chaotic, short. Barely a blip by galactic standards. Yet somewhere in the silence of 2 centuries, they had achieved what no other species dared, a deterrent no one understood. And worse, there were no records of human wars since then. No new colonies, no external trade, just silence. Development turned inward, isolation perfected. The Assembly Intelligence Division launched an unauthorized probe, a stealth AI, built to breach Terran systems undetected. It entered Terran space under deep cloak, transmitting a passive stream of data back to the 8 archives. It lasted 6 minutes. Its final transmission wasn't data. It was a voice. Calm. Human. You were warned. The signal included its launch coordinates, authorization codes, and a personal identifier, the aide's director. The message was clear. We see you. The judgment did not return to Vora. 6. It stationed itself at the border of Terran space, unmoving, unchanging. A wall in the void. It sent no signals. It did not respond to them either. But once every rotation, it emitted a brief pulse. No language, no encryption, just coordinates. These matched no known location, until a Tlur historian found something buried in Earth's old transmissions, a series of astronomical markers once called the Pillars of Creation. A nebula. That's all. Not a threat, not a command. Just memory. Humanity was broadcasting a reminder. They hadn't forgotten the stars. Despite the terror Earth inspired, no species reported an act of Terran aggression beyond response. No colonies were attacked. No envoys disappeared, unless they violated the border. And even then, Earth never escalated. They erased, then resumed silence. The fear came not from war, but from what was withheld. What else had they built? What else had they hidden? If one unmanned vessel could unnerve an entire galactic union, what slept behind it? The Suian Queen, a monarch whose reign spanned for centuries. Put it best, they didn't build weapons to win a war. They built inevitability, a presence, one that makes us question if contact was ever a good idea. The psychological toll began to show. Military academies rewrote war doctrine. Children on fringe worlds were taught about Earth not in terms of history or hostility, but reverence, as if they were a force of nature, a singularity. You didn't attack a black hole. You steered clear and prayed it stayed asleep. Some groups tried to engage them. Peace cults, philosophers, diplomats. They sent transmissions, symbolic gifts, even poetry. None received answers, not even rejection. The silence wasn't ignorance. It was judgment. The Assembly passed the Contact Seclusion Accord. No species may engage Earth or its holdings. All observation to be conducted from no closer than 4 light years. Any violation constitutes a declaration of war against an enemy who does not answer with armies, but with absence. Across the stars, statues of Terran vessels began to appear, not from Earth, but built by alien hands, as warnings, as offerings, as signs of respect. No worship, only understanding. They do not seek friends. They do not seek war. They do not negotiate. They wait. The judgment remained motionless for decades more. A ship, a message, a mirror, one the galaxy no longer dared to look into. A century passed. The galaxy reshaped itself around a silence no one could breach. New alliances formed, not in opposition to Earth, but in avoidance. Entire sectors were declared sleep zones, where nothing was built, mined, or explored, simply because they neighbored Terran space. Trade routes bent at unnatural angles. Star maps redrew themselves like water flowing around a deep black pit. The judgment never moved again. It needed to. The legend it had become was more powerful than any weapon. Children of species that once ruled entire arms of the galaxy now whispered its name the way ancient humans once whispered storms and demons. It wasn't just a ship. It was a boundary between known and unknowable. And still, no one knew what Earth wanted. Then, a distress signal appeared. A genuine one. A mining colony from the Allery Syndicate, deep in unclaimed space, broadcast a catastrophic failure alert. Their core reactor had destabilized. Evacuation was impossible. A chain reaction had already begun. Standard response teams were light years away. The colony sent its last transmission with no hope, a general beacon, not targeted, not encrypted, just a final cry into the void. And someone heard it. A ripple of gravitational displacement, unmistakable cold, registered less than a light minute from the colony. The judgment had moved again. Within seconds, it was in orbit. The colonists, expecting death, watched as beams of unknown energy surged from the Terran ship. Not weapons, something else. Fields of stabilizing force, engineered to rewrite the collapsing math of a reactor running wild. Matter realigned. Heat drained into vacuum. Gravity anchors rebalanced. An explosion never happened. The judgment didn't land, didn't communicate, didn't even linger. It saved them, then vanished. For the first time in over a century, the galaxy saw something new. Earth had acted, but not out of fear, not in retaliation. It had intervened to help. No explanation followed. No contact. just a lingering proof of intervention far beyond any known technological threshold. The Allery filed a report. It spread like wildfire. Within cycles, theories exploded. Was it a shift in Terran doctrine? A sign? A test? The Assembly reconvened in emergency session, not out of panic, but awe. The debate was endless. Had humanity changed? Or had the galaxy simply seen, for a moment, the other side of the coin? The Terrans hadn't vanished. They had evolved. One species alone, surrounded by civilizations bent on categorizing, taming, controlling. And Earth, instead of submitting, had retreated inward, built power not for domination, but for deterrence, mastery not of others, but of themselves. And when they emerged, it was not with banners or bureaucracy, but with the capacity to erase or preserve. The message had always been misread. The judgment wasn't a warning of what humanity would do if provoked. It was a statement about what they wouldn't do, and the consequences of making them break that code. They didn't seek war because they had already surpassed it. They didn't seek diplomacy because they saw through it. They didn't seek allies because none had ever stood beside them in silence. The judgment now served as more than a boundary. It had become a symbol, a fixed star of caution and balance. A single Terran construct, holding back the worst instincts of an entire galaxy, not with threats but with certainty. It had proven something that every species, in their own way, came to accept. Earth did not send diplomats. They sent the only message they believed others would understand, not through translation, not through policy, but through presence, unshakable, unbreakable, undeniable, and somewhere beyond that vessel, behind the silence and the stars, Earth was still watching.